Welcome to the Mel Harry Show.
Welcome to another episode of the Mel Harry Show. Now, last time I had a very good friend of mine on the show, and this time I'm so proud actually that I'm surrounded by such strong women in my life. I would like to introduce you to another friend of mine, Vernaire Bass, who is the founder of WOW, Women of the West Indies. Welcome to the show, Vernaire.
Hi, Mel, and thank you so much for having me on your fantastic show. It's a
You're
privilege.
welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for joining me. So, look, let's just go into it. Tell us about WOW, Women of the West Indies. What is it about?
So WoW is actually launching this Sunday, and it's basically a show that has been conceived to promote women of the West Indies, to promote women of color, and really to highlight the role that they play in society, specifically within the Caribbean society. So in the Caribbean, it's very patriarchal. When you look at the leaders of our islands and things like that, most of them are male. And the irony is that most of the people who are supporting them and propping them up are female, but they're not the ones who are being seen or celebrated as such. So one of the other things that I realized after moving back to the Caribbean from the UK 5 years ago yesterday, is that we have this issue in the Caribbean of brain drain. And brain drain meaning that most of the people who live in the Caribbean always think that the grass is greener elsewhere, whether it's the UK, the USA, or further afield. So I really wanted to start a show that was really going to plant a seed in the minds of young women that even though you're on a small island, even though you're in the Caribbean, there's so much work that you can do within the place that you live to elevate it to the point where it's going to look as appealing to you and others as those other countries further afield. So the whole purpose of this show is to really highlight the stories of phenomenal women from the West Indies who have remained on their islands and have been able to achieve great feats, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in politics, whether it's in sport, whether it's in education. And the key thing about the show as well is, as much as I want to highlight celebrated females or females who already have a platform, it's also a show that's going to be highlighting those grassroots individuals, those philanthropists who are behind the scene, putting that daily grind in to really give them some support and empower them to continue to do what they're doing.
Amazing. There's so much now, obviously, like even from my own like heritage coming from a small island as well. I get exactly what you mean in because sometimes it's like the women are the real drivers of, the men kind of succeeding, and I think we know that as women anyway. But what would be some of the setbacks that, traditionally that would happen, like, especially like where you're based now? So it's Montserrat that you're based in?
Yeah, so I migrated. So I migrated back to Montreal. I was originally born here, and then we had a volcanic eruption here that was continuous until from 1995 to 2010. So I migrated to the UK in 1997. And obviously, having been exposed to the UK, working in the UK, living there for all of my teenage years, I came back with this level of enthusiasm and exposure. But what I soon realized is that most people within the region probably don't share that enthusiasm. And I think a lot of people maybe move from a place of lack where they think that they can't achieve anything. But I think in the UK, we're always, because there's so much competition, like you have to step your game up. Like there is no option for you to just sit back on your laurels and take things easy. But as with the small islands, everything is taken easy.
Yes, everything.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I definitely saw when I returned is that whereas when you're in the UK, you're a go-getter and you just go after everything that you want. I feel like most people within the region and on my island feel like they need permission. And I say permission in the sense where they want to do it, they've seen it being done, but there's something within them that feels like someone has to give them permission to do it. And that's not something that I suffer from because I am not scared of no's. I am willing to ask the question. The worst that can happen is already no. So what if they say yes? And that's how I've kind of moved and navigated my way through the society here. So I've done so many things since I've been back, mainly because I am not scared of the word no.
Nice, nice. Absolutely. Would you say that that tends to be the case, like where a lot of women, and that could be obviously from smaller islands or even just like, different backgrounds. Do you think it's because we're just scared to ask the question and that tends to set us back? Because technically, don't we think doors could open if we just kind of asked or we just kind of, or maybe created the door?
Yeah, and I think it's because there's so much stigma attached to being a powerful and sometimes outspoken woman.
Yeah.
So women are supposed to be meek, we're supposed to be in the background, we're supposed to be nurturers. And then you get this mixed bag of feedback from society. So someone saying to you, oh, you shouldn't be too weak, you should be strong. Or you shouldn't dress a certain way, you should dress this way. Or if you dress that way, you're too masculine. If you dress this way, you're too sexy. You should wear your hair a certain way. That there's so many rules that are attached to being a woman. And typically, if a woman is in a position of leadership and she's a strong leader, she's seen as a bitch,
Mm,
right? Whereas if a man is in the same role and they lay down the law and they do their job properly, oh, he's just a man and he's a great leader. So I feel like in society, women have been boxed in so many ways. So even in trying to prove yourself and trying to be great and to fulfill your own personal aspirations is so much more difficult as a woman because of all of the standards that society has placed on us. So that's why I think as a woman it's such a struggle because you're trying to find this balance whilst also trying to be your true self and fulfill your dreams.
yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I think, like, you just kind of hit the nail on the head is because, when we are in such leadership roles, we get told to simmer down or to like back up a bit because we're almost we're too bold, and this is something that we don't embrace as women in general. And I think we're still working towards that and still, that struggle is still there. So let's go back to WoW and how that was created. So you're part of 664 Connect Media. Tell us a little bit more about that and how WoW came into the forefront. I'd like to know a little bit more about that
So
journey.
I'm actually the founder and CEO of 664 Connect Media.
Excellent.
So when I was in the UK, obviously you crave connection with your island. I'm sure you feel the same way about where you're from. And
Yeah.
I realized that because of the volcanic eruption, it destroyed most of our island's infrastructure. Essentially, the volcano destroyed our city or our town because based on where it was located, the town was in the valley and the volcano literally just covered everything. So now our former capital is now known as the Buried City or the modern day Pompeii.
Wow.
Just to give you an overview, so we basically lost all of our infrastructure. We lost our airport, we lost our hospital, we lost our seaport, we lost all of our governmental buildings, and as well all of our communication hubs or facilities, right?
Mm.
So it was very difficult when you're in the UK to have a point of contact with the island where you can get up to date information on a consistent basis as well. So when I was in the UK, before I decided to migrate back, the last month before I came back, I just became obsessed with the island. And that obsession has continued and essentially gave rise to 664 Connect Media. And one of the other things, ironically, that really propelled the platform was COVID, because I launched 664 Connect Media on the 7th of February 2020. And as you know, COVID started December 2019, but it really came to the fore in March 2020. That's when our island experienced their first lockdown.
Yeah.
And again, there was this need for the public to be informed. So I remember, and this was when live streams and everything just started. 664 was the place to be. I had DJs on
Oh,
664 before
nice.
Facebook started, before Facebook
Yeah.
started blocking everything. I had people doing yoga on 664. So basically, I was providing everybody at home
So this
with
is like prime
entertainment.
time 664 media was
Like
just on it.
literally,
Yeah.
like every time you come on this, I had cook shows on 64. Actually, now, like thinking back, I had virtual fashion shows. I had so much going on because this is when live streaming was really like kicking off and there wasn't so many restrictions. So you can get away with so much content before it eventually streamlined into now being a regional and local media house. So what I do essentially is I provide news and entertainment, and I also have another show called In the Hot Seat, which is really about highlighting and spotlighting people within Montserrat and giving them a platform for their voices to be heard about anything that they're trying to promote and
Yeah.
things like that. So then, like I said, the idea for the Women of the West Indies show has been on my mind. I don't know how to explain it. You know, when something just keeps coming up in
Absolutely.
your head,
Yeah.
like you
Time.
need to do this, like you need to do this. I'm like, who are you? Like, who's talking?
Who's
but
talking? Yeah, who's telling me this?
it's probably like you with the Mel Harry show, right? You're probably
There
thinking
we go.
like, okay, right, a podcast, me, who, especially since we both worked together and we probably didn't even express to each other that we had any interest in media.
Yeah,
So
I remember. Yeah, we had deep conversations, but nothing around to this level. Like now, I feel like we're just on the same wavelength now.
yeah, and the irony is life is so funny. Because when I was in, so as much as 664 Connect Media came out of obviously fulfilling a need and bridging that gap between local menstruations and those in the diaspora, when I really look back at my story, which I've been forced to do because I'm going to be the first person on my show on Sunday, is that media has always been there. So when I was at secondary school, media was my favorite subject. When I went to college, I more or less majored in media. And then I actually started off, my first degree was at the London College of Printing, pursuing journalism. And I
Wow.
actually went and I was working on like the Sony Street team. I was doing a lot within like music and stuff like that. But it
Yeah.
was only when I went and I started working at a law firm that I swayed more toward business and law and kind of parked the media side of things. So it's so interesting to me that I've gone completely full circle and now I have a media house. So I think whatever God's plan is or the universe's plan is for you, you can go around in circles, you can try how many things that you want, but if this is your
Absolutely.
destiny, this is
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
in a nutshell, 664 Connect Media is a platform that's available on my website, 664connect.com, Facebook, and Instagram primarily. And I've established a large enough audience now, which has given me the opportunity to pursue this new idea, Women of the West Indies. And Women of the West Indies, like I said, is really a platform that's going to be giving a voice to women within the West Indies who have maybe feel marginalized, etc. And the slogan is actually unveiling her story, which is a play on the words of unveiling history. But we're not talking about him, we're talking about her.
I absolutely love that. That is amazing. And I think as well, a lot of women just generally, like we were saying, they get so used to being in the background that they forget how much they're actually doing. And just like you were saying, you could be surrounded by a certain area like media. And actually, I still wish we had these conversations when we were literally physically sitting opposite each other in the office at one
Absolutely.
point, right? Because I'm pretty sure we would have created something big then. But the fact is like just like you, media was around me all the time, and for a period of time, i.e., when we were working together, I cut all ties with it, and it found me again. And like you were saying, like when you've got like God's calling, you will go. Like you can't fight it. It's gonna take you back there if that's meant to be your way. So for women that are kind of got used to or think that they're sitting in the background, they are literally still fulfilling their purpose in different ways, but they need to acknowledge that and actually say, well, actually, I am implementing these skills. I'm still in this area that I've always been interested in, or I still have a calling in, a certain industry. So it's about bringing that out. And I love the fact that you're bringing this together, especially for, women in the West Indies that, that need that enforcement and to inspire other people as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think the point that you made about we should have had that conversation
Yeah.
when we were sitting opposite each other, I agree, but I also disagree in the sense that I think that we had to have experienced life throughout that set. Can't believe it's 7 years.
A long
It's
time.
7 years since we've last seen each other, but I feel like I've done a lot of living in those 7 years and I've grown so much as a woman. So it's like sometimes when you say, oh, wish you had done something back then or whatever, it's like this is the penultimate time. This is the right time now to
Yeah.
take it forward because even back then I may have been a little bit more immature. I may not have had much to contribute. I may not have even had the confidence to sit down with some of these women that I'm going to be sitting down with who are well established. So, and it's funny because initially I wasn't going to be my first guest. In fact, I had no intention of being interviewed because I am usually the interviewer. Like I've done hundreds of interviews now where I'm putting my nose in everybody else's business. And to be fair, nobody knows much about me and my story. So I remember one of the first pre-interviews I had, and she was like, well, I was saying, oh, I'm going to have this person and they're amazing and stuff like that. And she said, but what about you?
Yes.
And I was like, she's like, so are you not a woman of the West Indies? Are you not a phenomenal woman? And it really struck me because I was like, sometimes like you're chugging along and you're doing your own thing and you're doing great things, but there's still a part of you that thinks that you're still not good enough. Like you're still
Yeah.
not good enough to be recognized like these other women who you're empowering and telling their story. So I have to admit, after when she said that to me, it really hit me, like physically hit me, because I walked away from the conversation and I was like, wow, I felt like I had been on a personal journey and I felt like I'm confident, I'm able to get on any show and just speak, so I didn't feel like I had those insecurities like I've been working on myself. But when she said that, it really hit me as to why I never thought of myself as being good enough to even be on my own show.
Yeah, but do you know what though? But that is a really important point that she's mentioned there because we want to help others, and it's not just women, even men are the same. We want to be able to say, right, I'm going to give you this platform, here's this messaging, but we don't realize how great the greatness that we're doing as well, and even in terms of having our own messages to put out there, it's really difficult to kind of, I don't know, we're told not to toot our horns, and it's nothing that's kind of egocentric, but it's just like, well, hang on a second. I have done this. Be proud of where you've come and
Mhm.
what you've done. And even if the fact that is promoting your own platform, but here, I'm going to interview myself and give you a piece of me. That's like that element of being vulnerable, which is hard to do when you're in this position, i.e., me interviewing you. Like, it's not about me, it's all about you. So I'm going to start digging in a little bit more. But if it was on a reverse, I would have to be vulnerable and kind of share parts of me. And, it can be quite intrusive, but it's an empowering thing. So she was absolutely right to put you on the spot there, Vernaire, and I'm glad you did.
It's so true because again, like I said, it didn't even cross my mind. That was the crazy part because I'm so used to being like you, the one asking the questions. Like I said, rubbing my nose in everybody's business. Like, yeah, you should
Yeah,
definitely come on the show. Like I've had to convince so many people to come on my show and
yeah,
share their stories.
yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's not that easy. But I never really, I guess, again, because I'm comfortable interviewing, that isn't the issue for me. So
Mm,
before I only thought of it almost at like face value, where it's only them being camera shy, not realizing that it's that vulnerable side where you're expecting someone to come and share their life story, but you're not willing to share yours.
It's a two-way street. It's almost like, when you have a relationship, you expect 50-50, but you need to do it as well, even with your own show, which you're probably
Exactly.
gonna now.
So when she said it really just hit me because it really showed me one, that I had more work to do. And obviously there's the element of it as well, like, living on a small island, you
Mm,
want to keep some things to yourself because in a lot of ways, I'm probably one of the most well-known faces here. And sometimes that can be a negative thing as well, because sometimes you receive a lot of negative attention because people, it's that parasocial relationship thing, right?
yeah,
So I'll
yeah.
give you an example. Like, when you have your social media friends and you feel like you know them. Sometimes you might go up to
I
someone
know them better than your Facebook
and
friend. Yeah,
call them by their social media handle, and that's not even their name, right?
yeah,
So I feel like when you have a platform, especially on a small island like this, people develop a parasocial relationship with you. So they feel like they know you, but really you just know the person who's conducting the interview. You don't know me. And then the other side of it as well, because they're seeing me all the time,
yeah.
again, they feel like they know me. So especially, I'll give you like for context. So when I left the island, I may have left with some people who were 3 years old or 5 years old or 10 years old, right?
Mhm.
But they're seeing me as my adult self. And there'll be some of them who come up to me and I have no clue who they are.
'Cause you've
And in
not
their
seen them.
mind,
Yeah,
they can maybe get offended because they're like, but you should know me because
yeah.
I know you. Like, I'm seeing you, but dude, like, I haven't seen you in 20 something years.
They just, yeah,
Like, you've
they
grown
just
out of my
expect.
eyesight, right?
Yeah.
So there's that parasocial element of it as well. So people really feel like they know you. So I feel like that's where the true vulnerability comes in, because now I'm actually going to have to make them know me or get to know me a little bit deeper than that. I don't even say it's a facade, but the screen that I've had up.
Definitely, yeah, and I think you're quite right. You're absolutely right on every single part of that, because you do have that screen up, and it's just easier to be. I mean, look, viewers, you're going to hear this from me. It's easier to be on this side of the screen or of the mic or whatever, because we get to ask the questions. So it's not about us. Like we deflect, okay? And then this is the part where you're having to kind of just open yourself up, or allowing people to see a different side of you. So it's not Vernaire who's going to be the journalist for for the show, but it's now going to be Vernaire talking about her path to being wow, and and celebrating that wowness of you. So I think it's, if anything, I'm really looking forward to the first show. So is it going to be via YouTube? Tell us, like, how can we tune
Yeah,
into.
so if you go on our socials, which are Women of the West Indies, quite simple. It's long to type out, but once you get it and you follow the page,
Yeah.
it will be easy. It's gonna be on 664 Connect Media, but what I've done is on the Women of the West Indies Instagram and Facebook page, I've created a link in bio. So once you go there, it will take you straight to the YouTube channel where you can see the full playlist. The show for Sunday is already there, just waiting for you to notify yourself and to subscribe and all that good stuff. So it's very easy. I'm trying to make it as easy and as intuitive as possible, because I'm aware of the fact that people don't want to be going through 50,000 things to try and find where you are. And also, guys, putting in a little plug. I've just launched the YouTube channel, so we're growing. So I'll be grateful if you could subscribe, because, gosh, sometimes managing all these platforms is another job in
You
itself.
you're telling me that it's like a full-time job in itself, yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely, excellent. Thanks for that, Vanessa. So basically, I'm gonna, plug that as much as possible, because we need to hear more about the amazing women that you'll be interviewing, as well as
Mhm.
hearing more about yourself. And to kind of set the record straight, I'm learning more about you on this show today than I ever did. And how many years did we work together? It was like what,
Probably about 2 years,
2
maybe.
years, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm learning lots and lots and lots about you just through this interview and through this segment. Um, Veneer, any sort of message that is there any sort of like special message that you have for women of color or even just people of color right now? Like what would be your thing to kind of tell us or tell them?
I think one of the things that really jumps out to me about people of color is going back to this whole concept of a box, right? I think in a lot of ways we place ourselves in boxes. Even like the favorite box for us is racism or because it was slavery and this and that other. One thing I always say is many of us have not experienced slavery. If we really look at our lives, we have good lives. So I think, and the good thing about technology and things like social media and that now is that it's almost created this level playing field that if you really want to achieve anything in life, you can. So my thing is, it's like get rid of the box. There is no box. You can do anything that you set your mind to, but you also have to take away that victim mentality, that mentality that says to you that it's always somebody else's fault. And sometimes it is. But one of the things that I've always been very conscious of as an individual is being able to step back from a situation and see how I contributed to that situation. And it might be difficult at times because at times it could be someone has genuinely been horrible to you, right? But then sometimes people show us who they are, but we choose not to believe them. And
Absolutely.
so when they continue with the negative behavior, we start making excuses for them. And that's where you have to take accountability for yourself. So my thing is, when you get to a certain age, whether you're a black person, white person, anybody of any ethnic origin, you have to get to the point where you take responsibility for yourself. You take responsibility for your life and you take responsibility for every single thing that happens within it. So if it's your finances, if it's the person that you're dating, if it's the job that you're in, everything in life comes down to choice. And I think that's one of the things that people misunderstand, especially when you're walking in faith or trying to find some sense of spirituality. Is like, why would God do these things? No, most of it is down to choice. Like, if you're really honest with yourself, it's
Yeah,
down to a choice that you made, and it may not be a choice that you made in this moment. It could have been a choice that you made 5 years ago, but it comes back to bite you. So, my main message to everybody out there is completely remove this victim mentality. It's probably one of the most difficult things to do. But when you look at life instead of why is this happening to me, but what can I learn from this situation, which is the quote that I put up today, you really look at life with a different perspective. Take away that victim mentality, that need to always say it's somebody else's fault. If you're in a job, you don't like it, you have the choice to resign and move on and do something else that you like doing. If
exactly.
you're in a relationship and you're not happy, you have a choice to leave that person and find someone who is going to make you happy. In everything in life, we have a choice. And sometimes these choices are not easy, sometimes they're extremely difficult. But the key thing in life is to really look at the lesson, be truthful about how you contributed to the situation, and just move on. So that's what I'll say to anybody. Because honestly, I think it's one of the main things that hold us back. This victim mentality is, of woe is me, it's always everybody else. But sometimes if we take that real accountability, and look, I'm talking to myself here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't think that
You
I'm
need
saying this and I've got it all like figured out because I don't. So I'm really speaking to myself here, guys. But honestly, we really have to find a way in life and in every situation to remove that passing the blame onto somebody else and really look at the lesson that you've been taught. And one thing about lessons as well is that until you learn that lesson, it's going to keep coming back and it's going to keep coming back and it's going to keep
Yeah,
coming back
it will. It
in
will.
whatever way, shape, or form it does.
Yeah, and then you're literally like, "Okay, God, I've learned my lesson. I know now." And then it will still come back until you actually learn it.
until you learn it, because it's not a face
Exactly.
value thing that you
Yeah,
actually have to do the
100%.
work, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Veneer, wise words. Absolutely. Is that what we've got to look forward to then when we start listening into some of your shows then?
Yeah, definitely, because I feel like some of these women have been. So the main thing for me is, when you hear sometimes these motivational quotes and stuff can be so cliche, but you know that one where it says, it's not about the year that you're born or the year that you die on your gravestone, it's that dash in between. And that's really what I want to focus on with my conversations with these women. So, as much as these women are established and they're all doing great things, my approach to the conversation is not even really to focus on the positive. It's actually to focus on those moments in their life where
Mm,
they had to overcome adversity. Because I think the key thing in order
that
to
moment
make
of
a
growth.
teaching moment is
Mm,
to bring out those stories from these individuals about, yes, when you went through this issue. So I have some women on the show who have been and are currently going through serious health issues,
yeah.
right? But these women have chosen not to succumb to that issue. They've chosen to fight their way through it, right? And there's some women who have been through loss, some people who have lost their parents at an early age and they had to overcome it. So you have grief, dealing with grief in
Mm,
there as well. And you have some people who were on a certain trajectory in their career and suddenly something in their life changed and they had to really get to grips with it but continue. That's what I really want to bring out in these conversations, right?
amazing.
That life is going to be lifing, but you just have to find a way to pick yourself up and really continue with tunnel vision towards whatever you're trying to achieve, but understand that the destination is not the most important. It's that dash and that journey in between, because that's what makes you who you are when you get to whatever success looks like for you.
Absolutely. And like Vernaire, like honestly, this is gonna make a lot of people want to tune into this show because like you said, it's that period of growth, that journey, those trigger points that creates that resilience in us. And I cannot wait to listen to this on Sunday. So I'm really looking forward to it. And of
Yeah,
course,
and I think you're going to learn a lot about me as well, because I
absolutely.
think,
Yeah.
like you said, you probably learn more from this conversation, but there's elements of my life that you have no clue about, especially, you know, living with a volcano. That's a unique
Yeah.
experience. Evacuating and
Mm,
literally not knowing what's going to happen from day to day, because everybody around you is experiencing this for the first time. And I think the closest that I've ever come to experiencing something similar to the volcanic eruptions on our island was COVID.
yeah.
And the fact that everything was just so uncertain,
Mm,
day to day. And recently, I was even going through some news items during the years 2020 to 2022, and I was like, wow, we've forgotten what we've been through. Like,
that's exactly it, isn't it? You forget that because you've come so far, but that's a huge and that was just recent. That wasn't even
yeah.
long ago. This was like it feels like just yesterday, just you telling me that. I'm thinking, well, actually, that wasn't long ago at all. And then you've had to go through that and almost like restructure as an island.
hmm The good thing is about our island is that, to be honest, we didn't experience COVID like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Well, I think for up until like 2022, we'd only had like 8 people that contracted the disease, which was crazy. And
Wow.
then suddenly there was this weird spike where like 300 people got it. Like, literally went from 8 to like 300 people.
That yeah,
So we
that
never
was a
really
huge spike.
experienced it in the same way. But I remember thinking a lot of the times, if someone had said this to me in 2019, even that next year I'm going to be in my house, I can't leave my house. There's literally like martial law where you're
Yeah,
only allowed to go outside and exercise and come back inside in complete isolation from the rest of the world. I would have said to them, you're crazy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We're now gonna be in history books.
Literally, that like
History books.
surviving COVID is real.
Yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
one of the things that I appreciated during COVID, like I've always been comfortable being by myself. So in a lot of ways, COVID was like a little break for me. I'm one of those weirdos who was okay
Yeah.
with the lockdown.
Weirdly enough, I was okay being at home. I was okay without, being able to work from home. That was something easy. That was something embraced. But obviously, a lot of people went through some real traumatic phases and stages in their life with that. But it kind of taught you to be okay with yourself, like, and to
Mhm.
get to know yourself as well. So again, a lot of resilience that we have learned, whether that's been, the unfortunate thing through grief or loss, as well as just adapting to your own company. And if you enjoy your company, then yeah, you'll be absolutely fine with it.
Yeah, I think there are some people who just get so much joy from being around a crowd. And I think the most difficult thing, and I think the reason why people face so many mental health issues during COVID is exactly that. You have to face yourself.
You have to enjoy your own company, get to know yourself
Yeah.
again without the influence of people. Now, people can really play a part of how you live your life and whether you start to follow instead of having your own kind of thought and free thinking, which is something I'm very passionate about. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's also, I think what COVID forced you to do was figure out, who are you?
yeah, yeah.
Because one of the deepest questions that you can ask, and I don't even know if I can answer that question right now, like, who are you?
Still
And
fun.
who are you
Yeah.
without your job title?
Yes.
Who are you without your friendship group?
Yeah.
Who are you without your hobbies and the things
Yeah.
that you do all the time? And we think
Definitely.
that those are just things that we do for fun or whatever, but a lot of it is really to
Yeah.
avoid spending time with
Definitely.
yourself.
And even just bringing it back to women as well, it's not the fact that we're just a sister, we're the girlfriend, the wife, the mother, the friend. Who is Vernaire? Who is Mel? Like, on your own. Like, if you were standing, if again, whatever belief that you have, you're standing in front of God. Who are you? Who could you actually say? It's like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is what I love about myself. There was a lot of things that we had to relearn. And I think as well, just kind of bringing it back to wow, there's going to be a lot, I'm sure, a lot of stories and a lot of inspirational, I'd say inspirational growth that we're going to hear from the guests on your show as well as from yourself. And yeah, I think it's just going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I'm
Mhm.
so happy for you for this launch.
Yeah, and thank you very much for the opportunity to come on your fantastic show to promote it. And I think this is actually a nice warm up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
This is a nice warm up to the show. I know this is probably going to come out after the
Yeah.
first show, but I think it's nice to just have a conversation one on one with another female who's on the same journey. And I think one of the things as well, especially in life in general, is one thing I've always appreciated about you, like you've always been such a warm, open, non-judgmental person. Like you always feel like you're
Okay.
someone who you can really talk to. You know, you can speak to some people and you feel like they're gonna go away afterwards and judge you
Yeah.
or have something to say. But I've never felt that energy from you. And I know that you've done a lot of spiritual work. A lot of the work that you and your sister do is around
Yeah.
that space. But it's also nice to see that you're a living, breathing example of the messages that you promote. So I'm
Thank
proud
you.
to have you as a friend as well.
Oh, right back at you, Vanessa. Thank you so much. That's so nice. Oh, don't make me cry on my own show.
That's the goal. Like, you know how sad it is? Like
This is
I want
about
to see
you.
tears on
It
my
was,
show actually. I
it
want
was
some
about
tears.
you, Vanessa,
Like
not me. Vinay, it has been absolute pleasure to have you on the show, on the Mel Hurry Show, and honestly, I cannot wait to tune in. Yes, you're absolutely right. This is going to come out after the show, but everyone, you're going to get a link to this so you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can listen in to the first episode, and follow Veneer, follow 664 Connect Media, follow Wow, and follow me as well. So
absolutely.
Vinay, thank you so much for being such an amazing guest. And yeah, it was just good to have this chat.
Yeah, and thank you so much again for having me. A big shout out to your audience. I hope I've dropped a few gems. And if you enjoy those gems, definitely follow the WOW Show, short for Women of the West Indies Show. And you can find us on of the West Indies, Women of the West Indies on both Instagram and Facebook. And you can also check out 664 Connect Media as well on all platforms. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed the show. For more content on social media, don't forget to follow at Mel Hurry Films on Instagram, or you can email me at themelhurry@gmail.com. Take care. Bye.